Now, it is easy for someone to have a job with the government and to just sort of lay low, do their job, collect a paycheck, do their thing. And then there's other folks out there who actually take their oath of office seriously and are willing to put their health, their financials, their reputation on the line. We are fortunate enough tonight to have with us a person of that latter caliber. I can't say it enough. This society is full of far too many people who would rather take a paycheck, protect their retirement, and move on and not say a thing. We have with us tonight someone who has refused to do that, who has decided instead to stand up for something important, and that's the Constitution, and equally important, the Constitution and the Second Amendment of this country. Please give a very warm welcome to someone who is fighting a battle that you and I would probably shy from. Current BATFE agent and whistleblower, Mr. Vince Cefalu.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm not going to give you $50, but who knows why I'm here? I'm here because you're here. I'm here for no other reason than that. If it's important enough for you all to be here on a Thursday night, leave your families, your jobs, after working all day, then it's important enough for me to be willing to come down here. I want to be clear. It was told to me earlier that apparently in shotgun news, the government described my relationship with my employers as less than cordial. That's one way to describe it. That being said, let me get this out of the way. I'm here as a private citizen. I'm here on my own time, my own dime. I do not represent the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in any way. I represent myself and those who have chosen to step forward and honor the oath we took. And for the record, the oath we took was to you and to the Constitution, not to our employer, not to our supervisors, not to our bosses, and not to the President. That being said, I am a whistleblower. I don't take any pride in that fact. I do not admire disloyalty. I do not admire making allegations against the greatest nation, the greatest department, and the greatest agency, probably law enforcement agency in the history of this country. However, again, I didn't swear an allegiance to them. I swore an allegiance to the Constitution on April 19th, 1977. And it's been binding ever since. Those of you who don't know me, you come on in. Come on in now.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
You ain't interrupting. And I'm wearing a hat not because I'm bald, but because I'm cool. Unlike the secretary. This,
Just in case you get parked.
I really
Just
can't.
in case you get parked.
God bless Tennessee. I don't really know where to start because we've been in this vicious cycle. When I say we, everyone here is familiar with the breakdowns within the firearms enforcement community. Everybody knows what happened with Fast and Furious. That's not where the issue lies. My complaints and my issues started long before that. As an agency, as an institutional mandate, our system internally was broken. We tried to address it internally, professionally, and off the record. That didn't happen. We had our leadership, our mandates, our complacency with our mission had gotten to the point where it was no longer an apolitical mission, and there seemed to be agendas being served and self-advancement. And there's nothing wrong with self-advancement. I'm all about me. Show me $1, I'm going to go out and I'm going to earn it. Problem is, it's your money. And I was raised up in this job. I may not be the best, but I know the best, because I was raised up when this bureau first became a bureau. And the people on the backs of the people that built ATF, I was highly offended when issues were raised and deficiencies, waste, fraud, and abuse, gross mismanagement, unethical conduct was illuminated by people in the field, including myself, and we were basically ostracized and warned that our careers, our livelihoods, and our futures would be at risk. That shocked me. That absolutely shocked me that could happen in 2012. Well, it was 2006 at the time. There were actions that are irrelevant that occurred between me and the agency where I drew a line in the sand and I refused to cross that line. I'm not a crusader. It's just I have to be able to shave every morning. I have to be able to look at my kids just like you do. Someday, God forbid, I'm going to have grandkids. And not because I don't like grandkids, but because I don't want my kids procreating. I drew that line, and I was perfectly comfortable being anonymous and dealing with it through our legal system and our internal bureau and our department. Problem was, once I became vocal in public, they started coming in across the country. Enter Fast and Furious. A microcosm of what was occurring nationwide in the breakdown in our leadership, and we left the arena of being law enforcement and public servants and became politically oriented and agenda driven. Is we're not supposed to care, and I don't, and none of the people I ever work for care if you have guns or you don't have guns. That's not the issue. We have a set of laws by elected officials that we're to enforce fairly and firmly across the board, and we weren't doing that, and we railed against that. And there's dozens of agents and inspectors who have said we're not going to let this happen to our bureau. It was self-serving. I love this bureau. I loved every day. I never worked a day in my life since I got hired. But then it started becoming apparent, and we started talking to each other. People started coming to me, if you will. They were afraid. They saw what happened to me. 5 transfers in 16 months. I don't even know how many suspensions now. It's gone off my chart. I quit putting the tallies up on the board. I've been fired and rehired from the same job, probably more than most of you have been fired in your whole life. As have many others. John Dodson, the agent who went public, the misery his family has taken, the misery his personal reputation has taken. So what had occurred was many of the players, the same players that were involved in choreographing this, we'll call it a plan, we had identified publicly and on the record as violating either law, rule, or policy within the agency, the government, and they should have been dealt with at that point. Had they been dealt with, I wouldn't be standing here, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they were not. They were protected, it was mitigated, and to this day, keep in mind, I've been fired for apparently, it started as, I believe, 7, I can't keep up, allegations of some form or fashion of misconduct. When the final decision came in, it was 1, and it was lack of candor. Now, I can assure you, I am guilty of a lot of things. Lacking candor ain't one of them. The significance of that is the only ones that are going to get any accountability are you. At the end of the day, it doesn't feel like it sometimes, and I know the government has become mired in bureaucracy. It always has been, though. But you're the only ones that can make a difference. To this day, no one who pushed the button on Fast and Furious has been disciplined. It's over 2 years. It's coming up on 2 years since Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was killed with guns we allowed to get into the public. The Department of Justice has refused to comply with congressional subpoenas. I didn't know you could do that. Call me naive. I mean, I'm a young man. I'm only 50. But I've been around a day or two. Like I said, April 19th, 1977, I raised my hand, and it's been up ever since. I didn't know you could tell Congress no. But they are. They have. What that does is empower an out-of-control agency, an out-of-control department to continue. Because if I face no consequences for outrageous management practices or abuses or breaking the law, if that in fact is what occurred regarding some of our leadership, where is the impetus for the next guy behind me to not do the same thing? I was cautioned about being here tonight by the San Francisco Field Division Management, people I report directly to. Innuendo, it was threatening and reminding me of the agency's policies. But like I said, I mean, I'm here. The law says I have to publicly oppose discriminatory practices and retaliation on the part of the government, or I can't state a claim. So guess what? Here I am. I'm opposing. Where are we at now? The OIG report was released in August. No one has been disciplined yet. There's been violations of rule, law, policy. I've been fired 3 times. I'm not sure what for, but I've been fired 3 times. My lawyer's getting rich. My family's getting poor. Yet the people who went before Congress lied, withheld, or manipulated the facts, or refused to acknowledge making the decision in something that has resulted in hundreds of deaths in Mexico. You know what? You don't have to care, and I'm sure you do, but I do have to care. Because when I took an oath and I agreed to enforce the law and do it the best of my ability, that means I can't let anybody get killed, maimed, raped, robbed, murdered, anything. It doesn't matter where I'm at. It was an all-encompassing oath. And we have an obligation to prevent that kind of violence in our border country if we can. And we could. Well, now that this process has gone unaddressed, and the people who you hold accountable, you should hold me accountable because you pay me. And you pay me well, by the way. Thank you. Until you fire me. But then when you rehire me, you pay me well again. You have a right to accountability, but only you can get it. I can't get it for you. They're caving my head in at every turn. I've delivered lawful subpoenas, lawful requests for documents and what have you that I'm entitled to by the law, and they just say no. Just like they have to you, just like they have to everybody else. And until somebody speaks up, and you're the only ones that can do it, you're the ones who pay the taxes. I guarantee you, everybody in this room today, tomorrow takes 2 minutes and emails Senator Grassley or Chairman Issa and saying, really guys? Now I understand this is not the all-encompassing end-all issue for citizens, but believe me, if they can do it to me, I got 30 years in this government. I'm pretty smart, and I know the ins and outs, and they've done a good job of beating me down, clubbing me like a baby seal. Imagine what they will do if empowered. You know, what's to say? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Unless and until somebody demands accountability and there's a public interest, this could go really south. Because I'm done. I'm toast. They have absolutely, there's nothing they can do. There's no amount of money they can give me back to recover the dignity, the pride I had in serving this government, my career, which prior to the fabricated and malicious legal dealings from ATF counsel and what have you, was pretty good. But people like me, or people, I shouldn't say that makes me sound like I'm something different than anybody in this room, and I'm not. But people who are willing to take that oath seriously and at least try. Nobody's perfect. Done a lot of stuff I'm not real proud of in my life. Trust me, I ain't going to tell you about it, but trust me. They're not going to come forward. And they're not going to stand by that oath, because that oath is not standing by them. Now, the Department of Justice has 1,000 attorneys. Those attorneys have launched specific efforts to discredit me. The facts are on record. There's nothing hiding. I have released everything that I can legally to the public and let them judge in furtherance of holding the Department of Justice and ATF accountable. They have not done the same. Now, there's only two reasons I can think of that they would not be willing to turn over relevant documents, emails, communications within my own agency. Is there something national security related? Or you're lying. And trust me, we do a lot of good work here at ATF. These brick agents are out there right now doing stuff that, quite frankly, now that I think about it, scares me. And I did it for 30 years. But if the department is comfortable in not adhering to the same rules, then you're going to start losing. There's not going to be as many people stepping up to say, hey, I was in Benghazi. I was there. We communicated we were under attack. We communicated we didn't have security, proper security. All these things that are going on across our government, there's got to be the support of the people that's what you expect, because that's what I've always been taught. Only until recent years have I come to understand that the system is not as perfect as I always believed it was. And again, until it happens to you, yet you don't know. But I truly thought when I stepped forward and said, this is what's going on and it needs to stop, I thought my senior management and the executives in the Department of Justice, I have been embroiled in this lawsuit and this complaint, this discrimination, retaliation, whistleblower complaint for over 6 years now. I may have a trial date in July or August this year. And the only thing I can offer you in the way of encouragement is I believed in the system, and for those of you who didn't know or didn't see, again, I was terminated again in a Denny's parking lot. 33 years government service, and they got a termination package on me on the hood of my Jeep in a Denny's parking lot. I didn't come into this agency or this government that way, and I ain't going out that way. I'll leave when I say I leave. But the mere fact that they thought they could do that with impunity is a scary thing. No dignity, no professionalism, no due process. And when the United States attorneys insist on protective orders on litigation that I'm involved in and say, you can't talk about this. You can't tell anybody about this. You can't post it on websites. You can't talk to anybody but your lawyer about this. That causes me concern. Because there's nothing I do that's so important that you people shouldn't know about or shouldn't have a right to know about. And if that's true, then there is nothing so important that they have that I shouldn't be able to see. It's my life. I've been here. If you got something, if there's documentation, if there's evidence, for lack of a better word, if you have something that you need to hide, it's probably worth hiding, don't you guess? Because I've stated from the onset, you know my personal records. I know there's Privacy Act issues. I'll sign a waiver. Put everything I've ever done for the government, good and bad. And again, there's been a couple bad. Just a couple. Okay, maybe more than a couple, but not a lot. But the only caveat is, you can put everything out there for my personnel records and anything else, but let's put out everything that you've generated behind the scenes in the cloak of government protectionism, in my case. And they won't do it, because they can't do it. So I guess, in the spirit of being here with you folks, again, as a private citizen who knows what can happen, let me tell you something. Love them or hate them, I'm apolitical. I don't care. I made my vote. It's none of your business who I voted for, and I respect your right the same way. Had it not been for Darrell Issa and Senator Chuck Grassley, you wouldn't even know that thousands of guns were allowed to cross the border. I cannot tell you. It's not my job. I don't work for the Office of Inspector General. Why those guns were allowed to cross the border? I have my own beliefs. But I can tell you this. To this day now, and it's been over 2 years since Fast and Furious was exposed to Congress and members of Congress by me and others. Not one agent, and I'm talking retired or current agent, has been able to explain to me one justifiable reason for allowing that to occur. And that is scary. I will answer questions, but as you all know, Darrell Issa has released I say Darrell Issa only because he's the chairman, and I've had the most interaction with him, has done an exhaustive investigation, fighting the Department of Justice, executive privilege, everything else. Has done a phenomenal job in garnering. You know how he did it? Because of people who are willing to come forward, anonymously or otherwise. And again, I'm not proud of that fact. I would just as soon be able to walk in and stand with the Attorney General and say this is happening and have it addressed. But when people start dying, that kicks it into another arena. Darrell Issa, Fast and Furious, the first cabinet member in the history of this country to ever be held in contempt, would not have occurred without whistleblowers who came forward that believed you had their back. You, everybody, not just the Golden State Association here, not just the NRA, not just, they believed Americans wanted to know that there were people who were not going to be run over. You know, the easiest thing, I've been denied, 4 or 5 promotions since this happened. That's really the least of my problems not getting promoted. I make plenty of money as it is. But it's been visible. Everybody sees. And myself and another agent, Jay Dobbins, you probably read a bunch about, also has been very public about the mismanagement and the unethical and conduct and the lack of integrity at our senior levels within the ATF. People see that. And when they saw the Office of Special Counsel step in on my behalf and file a stay in the most recent attempt to terminate me and destroy my career, force me to retire, whatever, that's the kind of thing that's encouraging to make other agents say, hey, I better do the right thing here. Number one, we're obliged. Had I not reported it and they wanted to jettison me from the agency, they could have gotten me for not reporting it. Well, I reported it, and just that's the way the winds were going. So if you have an opportunity, and if you truly care, and you want your money's worth, we will do the job for you guys. We will hold our own accountable. But ask yourself, How much are you willing to sacrifice? Again, no whining here. If I had to do it all over, I'd do it again. I knew what I was getting into. There are others who have suffered stifling reprisals from ATF. Imagine being a Tennessee resident for your entire career, 12 months from retiring, got your house paid for, your retirement home or whatever, can't retire and draw your pension for another year and being told you're being transferred to Salt Lake City, Utah. It's pretty devastating, trust me. And that's just an example of the kind of things that have occurred. So I would encourage you, however you choose, get involved. Whether you voted for them or not, these congressmen, these senators, they are accountable to you. And you can make it known. I just want to read something. This came from a retired ATF agent, 30 years of government service, came on when this bureau, before it was even a bureau, as they were turning into a bureau. He sent me this today knowing I was coming here. He didn't ask me to read it. He didn't say anything. He just said, hey, I just wanted to share this with you. And I went, wow, that's pretty profound. Of course, it would be because it was written by Voltaire, a philosopher, so I would expect it to be profound. It says, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Fast and Furious is a devastating operation, but it's a microcosm. How did it go through an entire chain of command of an agency whose sole mission is to stop firearms from getting into criminals' hands? That's our sole mission. That is our underpinning. We have a lot of collateral duties, regulating the industries and what have you. How did it go through an entire chain of command? And when it did and was exposed, how are those people being allowed to retire without consequence at the same grade, at the same pay they were? You're paying it if you're good with that. If you're good with me being idled for 4 years. At my office, I was given an office as big as this corner, about 10 by 10, and provided no duties. And their defense is, hey, you got no complaint, you're getting paid. Legally, is their legal defense. How were you harmed? Well, I don't know that I was harmed. I mean, I was mentally harmed, physically harmed, emotionally, financially harmed. But you guys are the ones who are getting harmed. You multiply my salary times, a couple hundred agents that that's happening to nationwide because they merely said, I got to tell the truth on this. And you're talking about, taking a significant debt out of the California deficit. You're talking about people who are not. And I was given the reminder before I came down here today that I could be subjecting myself to further liability with the agency going outside policy. Whoever generated those memos and sent them back and forth between the lawyers in D.C. until they were approved and signed it and FedExed it to me, you know what? That's a lot of time. The time that was spent in just doing that, I probably could have taken at least one convicted felon off the street. Again, multiply that by the vast, sweeping. United States Attorney's offices have decided to defend ATF's actions in my situation, at least at this point. Somebody's paying for all that. And that somebody's you. I don't have much more to I know you guys want to win my gun and want to drink my Jack Daniels, but I will. I mean, it is so overwhelming to see the lack of attention and lack of action in this entire debacle. And if they can do that to me, John Dodson, Jay Dobbins, the other whistleblower, anywhere, it's just not an ATF, but that's what I swore to do. imagine what they can do to anybody walking the street. And that's where I do the line in the sand. I'll answer any questions. I have, but most of it's public information you've already seen and heard of. Yeah.
I guess this isn't directly from your case, but I'm assuming you kind of know about this. If I talk to a liberal person about Fast and Furious, they're going to say it started under Bush. I remember hearing that there were some guns involved in this, in Fast and Furious, or the previous.
Operation Wide Receiver is the one they're touting as having started under the Bush administration.
Right.
So good. Call in Bush and call in his Attorney General and deal with that. That doesn't. We were talking earlier. As long as you have sex and drugs and election tampering and all kind of sexy stuff going on over here, you can hide an aircraft carrier over here. That's not my line. That's from the Charlie Wilson's War. But who cares? We're not talking about what happened during the Bush administration. And when the Attorney General and the President invoke executive privilege about something they testified in March of 2010, or they made public statements, didn't testify, that they had no knowledge of and never had discussed because they didn't know anything about it, where's the executive privilege on something you weren't even aware of anyway? Why is there a need to withhold thousands of communications? Separate issues.
I guess my question is for purposes of the thing, which operation were, there were some weapons that went out that actually had tracking devices in, and I've heard it's like a handful. Was that during the Bush administration? How many guns went out during the Bush administration?
Nowhere near the volume of Fast and Furious. There was investigations, or several, and obviously I can't go into details on specifics. I mean, I just don't need to get jammed up on something like that. But it's been captured in public record. There were some attempts to try to figure out a way to impact these narco-terrorists in Mexico. They're getting a lot of guns. What's the best way? And according to public record, guns went across the border knowingly, and we did not intercept them during the Bush administration. That's all well and good. Nobody knew about it. If somebody, John Dodson or me or Dobbins or Forcelli or any of these people would have come forward during the Bush administration, we'd been having this conversation 4 years ago. But nobody knew about it. Nobody would have condoned this. This is such an outrageous practice that everybody was scared to death to go, are we? When I was first made aware and said, can you please get Senator Grassley on board? I know they're going to fire me. I know they're going to do this if I say anything. I was like, you know what? There's just nothing. I mean, there's no way any single ATF agent would ever say, hey, I got an idea. Let's let the guns go, and when their bodies show up, we'll know where the guns are. Isn't that sort of paramount to flooding Oakland with heroin and going, now we know where the drug areas are because where the overdose bodies are. It was so outrageous, nobody believed it, first of all. And then once it took on steam. So whether it occurred, it's irrelevant. We're not in the Bush administration. They're not questioning the Bush administration cabinet or the Attorney General or the ATF director at that time or the ATF deputy directors. And if they do, that's their prerogative. I don't make policy. We don't make policy.
Were the same people in ATF involved during both administrations in this sort of thing?
Some were, some weren't.
Okay.
Some were, some weren't. When my dispute came up, and my dispute was more institutional. It was involving gross mismanagement, waste, fraud, and abuse. prohibited personnel practices, unethical conduct, pretty much across the board. Not every manager, I don't mean that, but it was an institutional prerogative, and even managers were scared to step forward. So I hope that kind of clears that up a little bit. Yes, sir.
Was it ever practical to try to trace these arms? I mean, once you turn them loose and let them move out door, can you actually?
It was never practical. This I can tell you because you can go to any spy store and figure out. It is never practical for me to track something from my house to your house, being my next door neighbor, if I don't tell you. Because you're never going to be looking for it. And when we withheld information from not only the Mexican authorities, but our own attaché and agents we put in Mexico for that very purpose, that would suggest that probably there was other agendas being served. So it was not under the plan that was hatched. I don't have a better word, so I'm going to go with plan, but I'm not. That wasn't a real good descriptor of what that was. There was no way to track it into a foreign country if the foreign nationals aren't even aware you're doing it. And that's not directed at you. That's my frustration at why is Bill Knoll, George Gillette, Hope McAllister, Bill McMahon, Billy Hoover, why are they all still in good standing in this agency? And I'm standing here incurring tens of thousands of dollars of legal fees. I'm very frustrated with that because if you could figure it out, and these are career ATF people, why couldn't they? Yes, sir. Nice hat.
I was going to say the same to you. You have very good taste.
Thank you.
Ben, Vincent, you said you were fired in a Denny's. This was in Nevada, right?
It was actually in South Lake Tahoe, California.
Okay, in South Lake.
But it's a nice Denny's.
I've been there.
I was going to ask you what you ate, but I'm going to go on.
No, they didn't buy me breakfast. They just fired me.
Grand Slam? No,
Grand
the question I have for you is, I read like a week later that you've been reinstated after being fired.
That was what I referred to earlier, the Office of Special Counsel.
Right.
They're the police of the police, if you will. They're, I guess, the highest authority on accountability in the government. They only report to the department director, the agency head, and the President of the United States. And fortunately, they saw what this was about. They saw what occurred. So, yes, I was reinstated in short order.
So, is that permanent, temporary?
There's a temporary stay while they investigate it. They have an open investigation. They will do whatever it is they do to make it, to reverse it. If they're successful, then I'm back to full, well, I was ordered to be back to full duty now. I am not currently in a full duty status, but don't care. You guys want to pay me to sit around? I'm good with that. Like I said, you pay me a lot of money. Yes.
Vince, now you mentioned earlier that it was because of people like you that brought this issue forward, and apparently there's been no knowledge of this kind of stuff going on before Fast and Furious. But I'd like to point out that many of the gun dealers along the border states have been routinely put out of business for record keeping and other minor offenses. Do you think that this is part of this overall plan?
I'm not going to get into what I think.
Well, let me ask you what you feel.
Little Jack Daniels. Next question. Oh, don't you? I'm going to have calling a female, but don't you ask this question again.
No, you won't like mine either.
I'm sure.
I've been losing respect for our government for some time now, and to the point where now I'm actually afraid of my government, to the point where I don't know if they're just going to come in the middle of the night and take everything I have and take me away. Can you tell me that's not the truth?
Yes, I can tell you that is not the truth as we stand here today.
So I should.
If they could have, they would have done it to me. That's all I can say. I have worked within the system. We all know it's an imperfect system. We all know there's been a certain deterioration in certain moral and whatever values across our country on some level. Our adherence to our oaths and our obligations and our lawful duties in some cases. But I will tell you this, a vast majority, the larger majority, I'm still standing, right? If they could have taken me out of play.
But you had a council to go to. Who do we have to go to?
You have each other. You have congressmen. You have senators. You have each other. I didn't say that.
California, we don't have any of that.
Good point.
We're all criminals.
Only you can change it. There ain't enough of me. Oh, there's enough of you. There may not be enough of you in this room, but y'all got neighbors. Your neighbors have neighbors, brothers, sisters. Yes, sir.
Are you a federal officer?
I'm a federal agent, yes.
You're a federal agent. Well, that means if I lie to you, that's a federal crime.
That's a felony, yes, sir.
Right.
In the performance of my duty. You can lie to me at the bar all night. I'm not in the performance of my duties, right?
Wait a minute.
I do it to women all the time.
See,
Just kidding.
that's the problem, see, is I don't know when you're undercover and doing your job.
Good point. So just on that note, keep the unregistered machine guns out of you, please. Because I will still do my job. Sir.
In your discussions with ISA and all these other people, do you get any sense that there might be some attempt to impeach Obama?
You know what? I am a little bit full of myself because I've taken the best a corrupt agency and a questionable and possible corrupt Department of Justice is throwing at me, and I'm still standing. But they don't talk to me about that. That's a little bit above my pay grade. Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank you for having the integrity and the balls to stand up for the Constitution. My question is I've been in contact with Darrell Issa several times, his office. I've been transferred to the Oversight Committee in Washington. Like somebody said, we're unrepresented here. And I've told Darrell Issa that I know I don't vote for him, but he's my only representation. But this thing has died for the last few months.
We had an election cycle.
What do we need?
Benghazi went underground. Election tampering was non-existent. Fast and Furious went away. It happens in election cycles. There's just certain things we can't control in our worlds sometimes, and some things are more pressing. Hey, I thought I was going to end this all and have the acting director, deputy director, and everybody removed from office or at least demoted and integrity restored to my agency by going on Anderson Cooper, knowing I was going to get my head caved in. What happened? Oil spill. I got upstaged by oil stained egrets. Nobody saw the story. Nobody really picked up on it. It took a while to get going. That retaliation and corruption against whistleblowers and mismanagement and wasting millions of dollars and all these disputes and everything. It got half of its thing. Like tonight, I'm not even supposed to be here. Apparently I was number 2 on the list. To a lawyer, no less.
He's lovable,
Sir.
These individuals that feel that they're opposing you. Do you feel that they they're above the law, or actually are they above the law?
How can they? No, nobody is above the law.
That's what yes.
Nobody is above the law. I know it feels like that. I sense your frustration, and I want to come back to your thing with Mr. Chairman Eisen and say, but as you know, hey, come on, people are slinging dope in the streets or abusing kids or robbing, raping. for years and years till they get captured or we figure them out or they're taken to task finally. So we don't just stop going after them because they've been getting away with it. Well, here's the situation. Chairman Issa and Senator Grassley have committed that this is not going away until somebody answers for it. You cannot have 300 dead or more Mexicans, a dead Border Patrol agent, and we've only recovered 700 roughly of 2,000 guns. That means that's 1,300 potential more dead people if there's only one death per gun until we recover them all. Somebody has to answer for that.
So this is 2,000 total guns?
Roughly. Now, regarding the chairman will only push as hard as you push. I get it, you don't vote for him. He's not in our district and what have you. Guess what? Charles Grassley's in Iowa. He doesn't know anything. I said Agent Cefalu from California, and he said, Cali what? But here's a man that's influential. Here's a man who cares, and he stepped up. So don't, just because you're not, your particular representative might not be sensitive to the issues that affect you, doesn't mean they don't all work for you. So you got to bear down on them. You got to make it worth their interest and make it a priority. But the chairman has been very diligent in pursuing this, and I believe Senator Grassley is just as committed to getting answers. And there's nothing more frustrating than demanding answers and not getting them.
I read Katie Pavlich's book on Fast and Furious.
Great book. Katie's a great girl.
Yeah. A lot of the questions that were answered tonight are answered there. Would you say that that is an accurate description of what you think?
You know what? Katie is a personal friend of mine, so I'm going to temper my comments. I want you to buy her book, because I did. I liked it. As is the case with most books on most real-time events, they're not 100% inclusive. Obviously, the IG report had not been completed. Certain people had refused to testify prior to that. Certain people were produced later after the book was published. But it is a very accurate. She supports it with attachments and addendums. The documents don't lie. And that's why I've asked for the government to make my situation public. They don't lie. But I'm under a protective order. So you will never see until we get to trial, and they're hoping I'll die or get dead before then, exactly what has occurred in this situation, because you'd be appalled, you'd be nauseated. Yes, sir.
What's the book title again?
It's Fast and Furious.
Katie Pavlich, P-A-V.
Yeah, it's Pavlich. She's a reporter for the Town Hall magazine. But if you just Google Katie Pavlich, I think it's Amazon.com or something. It's pretty cool. Just read the page with my name on it. It's the coolest part. Yes, sir.
You had commented on being warned about coming here.
Yes.
How long it must have taken for them to go back and forth, the lawyers writing this warning up and so forth. As a private citizen, when you do speaking engagements, are you required to report to the agency X amount of time before that, or how do they know?
Are you asking me or are you asking them? If you're asking them, I can't do anything without their express permission. But again, I'm required by law to oppose their actions against me, which I'm doing here in a public forum on my own time, Now, were I representing the agency as an agent in a public forum, which we do, you know, you have your FFLs and you have questions about the new regulations or why enforcement is not as strong or whatever community public safety issues, then I would need approval.
Right, but how did they even know you were going to be
You know, that's a good question. They're spending an awful lot of time paying attention to my comings and goings. I literally received a request in my litigation that's right now. The government wants every picture that I have taken on every trip outside the state of California since 2004. Because there's ladies in the room, I'm not going to tell you what my answer was. But it starts with F and ends with off. Yes, sir.
In reality, the buck stops at the president's desk and the attorney general's desk. And until you can hold those two people accountable, there's going to be no changes in the agencies.
That's why the chairman is pressing so hard. That's why Attorney General Holder is the first cabinet member in the history of this country to be held in contempt. Because they know that. They know that anybody below them or above them is empowered. So until the people who did these heinous things are fired, demoted, whatever the appropriate, that's not my decision to make. Because when they put me in charge, I'm going to fire the whole bunch of them. Yes? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go. So, what was Eric Holder's level of involvement or knowledge?
Well, we wouldn't know because executive privilege has been invoked, and although it has been suggested that the IG report exonerated him, it did not. It's 500 pages. You can read it. It's a fairly quick read. At no point did it say Eric Holder was not culpable or responsible or involved or had knowledge. It merely said, because we don't have the 19,000 documents we've asked for, and he's refused Congress's lawful subpoena, we don't know if he was or not.
Now, do you think the president had direct knowledge of the program or not?
I don't know.
Plausible denial. One other question.
Okay, one more and then let me get this in.
All right, thank you very much. Do you think Fast and Furious was part of a conspiracy to unionize gun shops and to change public opinion towards gun owners?
I'm not going to answer that question.
I just know.
Like one,
Sir?
yes.
Are there other Fast and Furious projects that we don't know about?
I would suggest, now keeping in mind, I've been the mushroom for about 2 years since they've been hiring and firing and hiring and firing and transferring me. They don't tell me a lot, but a lot of people do. And I would suggest to you that they probably figured that one out. That no, sir, I can tell you this. I can tell you I have personal knowledge of hundreds of ATF agents right now that are not at all interested in interacting with lawful gun owners, because we know the people who do the paperwork, the people who follow the laws and buy guns openly and do are not the people who kill people, generally, sometimes. So no, I would think it would be very reckless for any manager, agent, or anybody to be delving into any sort of enforcement operation that even looks like Fast and Furious. It was ill-conceived from the beginning. It was against our mandate, and it'll never happen again. That will never happen again.
Sure.
Yes?
I'm just curious, given your experience in doing what you've seen, I'm just wondering if you're drawing any parallels in what we're seeing and how they responded with Benghazi and with what we're seeing now with what's going down with some of our documents.
I absolutely see parallel in that. For somewhere, somebody tripped a switch in the government and said, we don't have to answer to you people. You know, matter of national security, law enforcement sensitive, FOIA, and we're going to deny it, we're going to redact it. Who redacts an entire page to the chairman of the oversight committee?
Yeah.
I asked for my personnel records. Why? Because it'll show the pattern of my performance over a 30-year career and everything else. They redacted that. I know what's on there. I think you guys want to do some drawing and drinking and gun. I want to win my gun. A gun, I meant. Not my gun.
Tough question. When you become the leader of this organization, and
the director of ATF, yes, sir.
And I take your position, how much money can I expect to receive?
Approximately $200,000 give or take.
Thank you.
That'd be. All right, anything? All right, guys, let's. I'll be around if you have questions. It is. Maybe I'll get another box of ammo this year. Just saying. It was a great box of ammo, though.
It was subsonic 40. Obviously, he's impressed. Now, first of all, I'd like to take a moment just to say I need some help with a small project. Kevin, could you please come up here for just a moment? Yes, because we need to get a picture. Now, for many a year, we have had requests of people knowing, who the heck are you guys? And I said, we're us. But I've never said, here's us. And what I'd like to do is take just a few moments, take a quick picture about us, so that next time someone says, who the heck are you guys? I can say, here's a picture of us.
Big brother.
So, well, I need you to stand up to make sure we get all the faces. Everybody take
FBI facial recognition came.
No. Trust me, if we were that sophisticated, we'd be in real big trouble. So, on the count of 3, if you would please just say cheese. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Cheese. And of course, he doesn't push the button. Okay. You did. Okay, let's try 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Cheese. Now, what we're going to do is this: I'm going to be sending a 4-bottle box of GS2AC wine to the folks at
At where?
you know the guys that do the what's the gun show with a guy from Louisiana, Sons of Guns. I'm going to send them a 4-box of wine and say, hey, we got some guys here in California, we need to come down and visit, come to our barbecue. I'm going to send this picture with them as well. So, okay, did you? Okay, we got the whole crowd? Pieces. Can't you do that Apple thing where you go, cheese? Okay, we'll tell you what, try it from up here rather than that. Take one more picture. Kevin has said you have to get much more friendly.
Not cheese, scotch.
Scotch, okay. Okay, so we're going to take one more picture. Okay, everybody kind of lean in and go, cheese. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Thank you very, very much. I know it's a terrible thing. But wait, we have someone with high technology. And you can do this thing where they do like on TV where they do full auto. Okay. Kevin, you need to be out in the picture.
Stand up on the chair.
No? Okay.
You're not tall.
Okay, tell me when. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Cheese!
Keep there, keep smiling.
Okay.
Let's try. Take a photo.
Come on. Okay.
Charge my battery.
Well, if there's any consolation, and he was kicked out of the NRA. Okay, that's actually a good thing. All right. Where did Vince go?
He ran away when fingers were
Somebody needs to get that boy. Somebody gets to get him back here. He probably went to the restroom. That's not acceptable. Okay, hold on one second.
This is 1855.
And when Vince comes back, we have a little presentation to him. Now, last year, Vince was with us, and we gave him a box of machine gun Merlot. We need to balance that out with a white wine. And this will be a bottle of sawed-off shotgun Chardonnay. He swears he won't drink it. He's also sworn that if his wife touches the bottle, he will disown her. But we can't allow that to happen. So, where'd he go? He may wait till we're sure. Could you go down and chase him down? Could you go chase him down? You back. Because it could be that the FBI or the BATFE is after him. He's dodging it at this time.
Oh,
okay. Come back. Okay.
No, worry, man.
All right. Vince, first of all, I want to thank you very much for being with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it enough. He didn't have to be here for this. He could very easily have gone on and done other things. It's about a 4-hour drive down here.
Yeah, easy for us. Easy.
Granted, we got him a nice hotel room.
Yes.
But he's got other things to do. He's got personal things to deal with. And he's been kind enough to come with us. And I would like to say, as a token of our appreciation, may I present you with a bottle of
Yes, you may.
GS2AC Cellars Shotgun Chardonnay.
Nice.
Shotgun Chardonnay.
Thank you very much. I will tell you this. I just moved in a new house in Tahoe. Both my parents passed this year, so it's been a rough year. And one of the first things I made sure that got to my house was the machine gun Merlot. And I don't let anybody drink it. I had one more thing I did want to end it with, and I was just consumed by like stage fright, blah, blah, blah. I want to apologize for whatever part I've had in this debacle that has absolutely wasted your money, your resources, your taxes, and for not being able to find a better way to navigate through this that could have allowed me to do more and earn the nice salary and the benefits you people have paid me. I just wasn't skilled enough to navigate through this without this litigation, and unfortunately you're going to pay for it, and I'm sorry for that part of it.
That's all right.
There's actually a box that goes with it.
Okay, so now next year, if I come back next year, I get like pistol Pinot Noir.
That's a good name. Let's do that.
You've been talking with my officers, haven't you? Once again, gentlemen, I would thank you very much.
I'm going to stay around.
All right, great. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Cefalu, Whistleblower. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to some other stuff here. All right, I'm just going to skip over this other stuff just to remind you. We do a lot of stuff here. We need to do a lot more. Next year, 2013, is the year that we're going to do a lot more stuff here locally. I have made some good inroads with regard to someone who just got elected to City Council in San Jose, and my hope is that we can leverage that relationship to actually have people at the City Council level go to safety gun training, actually learn how to shoot, and maybe change some minds at the governmental level. I will need your help. This is not going to be a matter of just saying, hey, this is a good thing to do. I need some labor on this, and that is basically, I'll do the cooking and the barbecue, but I'll need someone to actually help them say, hey, here's how to shoot a gun, here's how to do it safely. Yes, sir.
I have the connection to Councilman Kenton Chu, and I'll be happy to utilize it to get him on your...
You are my man. Yes, sir. Mike? Nothing? Voting for the Bishop. Okay. All right. With that in mind, just a quick few announcements, and we'll get right into gun raffle stuff and all that other fun stuff. GS2AC fun shoot. We haven't done in a while. We need to do one. Gun shows are. I really need some help in that area. We do have a gun shoot coming up, and we will be taking some volunteers. I have one person who's volunteered already. I will be calling on several of you. Bottom line is, this is a chance for free public outreach. Meet with people, talk about guns, It's a free day at the gun show. Sally Nordike has been very, very kind to us. Let us come in for free, set up a table for free. That is not something that they do at the Crossroads. They wouldn't allow us to do this for free. So please, even if you can't help us with the gun show, go to Tina's Gun Show. It's going to be November 24th, 25th, right after Thanksgiving. You're not going to do anything after doing Thanksgiving except to say to yourself, why did I eat so much turkey? Go to the gun show, okay? Buy stuff, like I said, see Sally and say thank you to Sally. She's doing a lot of work in that area. With that in mind, do you have any other thoughts or questions or